have a good time and we're energized, but we also are coming together because we can see that if we continue this, we can change the whole nature of this country. C.S. Lewis once described the maturing of an individual as being like a good egg. You're born as a good egg. And he said a good egg can do one of two things. It can either hatch or rot. And he was using that as an analogy for each and every one of us as individuals to make sure our lives are worthwhile. But that's the way, I thought there might be a way of making an analogy to the freedom movement. The freedom movement has been around a long time. It's been asleep for a long time. It was certainly asleep in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, but it's always been there. And I guess if we allow it to, the egg, the good egg of the ideas of liberty could rot. But I don't believe that's happening. I think what we're witnessing today is the hatching of this good egg and the understanding of what liberty is all about and what America has been all about. The fortunate thing is that we have a pretty good tradition. When the Soviet system collapsed, which was a predictable event by the Austrian economists because socialized economies can't work. But intervention economy, the inflationism and the special interest economy that we have, and I always resent it when they say, well, we're running, capitalism has caused all our problems and free markets did. So this is going to come to an end, but I think that we have a much better chance because our traditions have been better. At least we understood at one time what property rights really meant. I don't think we have much respect for property rights. If you own any land, have you ever noticed that you can't even use it without asking a lot of people what you can do, from local government all the way up to the federal government, to decide what you can do or can't do. Private property ownership is very important. So if we have a major crisis, which I anticipate will come, at least we ought to know what we believe in. We have to believe that we can restart this whole program in a much better way. But I believe the crisis will come because we're going to have a dollar crisis. When the dollar fails, that means the government checks bounce. And when the checks bounce, there will be very little reason for people to be dedicated and worrying too much about the federal government. It will be almost like de facto secession because there will be no way they can control what we're doing. We have to remember there is a fellowship of individuals around the country who are like-minded, and they're coming out and we're getting together. One of my general rules that I advocate is that it's a very serious business, but if you get overly serious, it can become depressing. So I advise you don't come to Washington too often because we have a long way to go there, but I have to leave Washington and come visit with you to get my energy because this is where it is, and this is where the people are going to come alive and change the country. The purpose of all political action should be the protection and the saving of liberty. It should be geared to individual liberty. Believing strongly that if we have individual liberty and we don't have the heavy hand of government, then what we can do in our personal lives, we can strive for virtue and excellence. That should be our personal goal. That's what my belief is anyway. But that is better done in a free society. A free society is much more creative than a society that is where you just barely survive for economic reasons. Then you have the heavy hand of government over your shoulder and arresting you and taking a picture of everything you do endlessly. Now, that isn't the way. The way we have to do is release this creative energy, and when we come together, we ought to have a good time doing it because of like-minded people. But on this issue of the government surveillance of us, I am sure every one of you are aware of the fact of how many cameras we have now and how intrusive this war of drugs has been. Because right now, we're spending about over $100 billion a year on the war on drugs. We've spent $900 billion over the last 20 years. It's a huge sum of money. Last year, there were 1.7 million arrests of people who were just holding substances, no violence whatsoever. So a good line to draw, if you think you're spending too much money with too many people in prisons, maybe we ought to come up with some creative ideas about how to handle people who never created a violent act. Then I think maybe we could get to the bottom of this over-intrusiveness of knowing every single thing we do. Sometimes I believe that the drug war is associated with the war on the taxpayers because they want to know what you're doing endlessly and where you're spending your money. But the principles of liberty would remove all that. And the main problem with a government that's authoritarian is they may be well motivated, and there are. We know people in Washington, they're liberals and they're bleeding hearts, but even if you give them a little leeway, the one thing is they do not know what is best for you. They do not know. They might assume they know. And besides, all of us are human and all of us makes mistakes. So if you depend on me to make decisions for you, I'm going to inevitably make a mistake, and I don't want to do that. You get to make your own mistakes and be responsible for it. The one interesting thing about liberty, if you have a truly free society, that you would be very tolerant of other people, whether it's their lifestyles or whatever they do, because if they don't hurt you, just leave them alone. And that is, even in an economic sense, it's okay. So if we have a free society and a group of people want to get together and they want to have a socialist community and share the wealth and work together and have joint ownership of property, let them do it. It's all up to them. But it's amazing, once it becomes a welfare society or socialist society, you just try to have your own libertarian society over here and take care of yourself. They won't have any part of it because they need you and they need your money and they need your energy and wealth, which means that it doesn't work for very long. It can work until we consume our wealth, and that is what we have done. We have consumed our wealth. We've known this was coming for many decades because we were living on borrowed money, and it was doomed to fail, and it still is working a little bit because there's still trust, but the trust is about gone. The credibility of government is gone. But it offers us a tremendous opportunity to stand up and know what liberty means, and know that liberty is one unit. You don't have personal, religious, and social liberty over here and economic liberty over here. You have to put them together because the right to your life means you have the right to your personal values and your money. So I want to close by saying first, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you very much for the enthusiasm and the encouragement that you have given me. But believe me, the fight is early. We have a long way to go. We are making progress, and we do not know what tomorrow will bring. Tomorrow, events will change rather rapidly. Just think, although we were able to anticipate the financial crisis, boom, it just popped right up. Something on the financial arena or in the military arena can pop up tomorrow or the next day or a month from now or a year from now. So the longer time we have, the better. The more we can spread our message and get people to understand what liberty is all about. If we do that, we'll come out just fine. Thank you very much.